Hey guys, welcome to the very last lesson for this trigonometry unit. I know it's been a lot of lessons, but we'll be spending the whole next week reviewing. So you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll be working on a review. Thursday, it's a free study day, so no homework is going to be due or assigned that day. So you're just responsible for homework Monday through Wednesday. And on Friday, you'll be testing. So I was planning to test on Wednesday, but I figured, let's keep the schedule the same what we've been doing. So last lesson is on law of sines, and it's a little bit tricky, but I wanted to do some review right before we get into our new lesson. So quick review. We were talking about how to solve right triangles in this unit, right? So for right triangles, there are three ways that you can go ahead and solve it. And I want you to go to in order, because on the test I'm not going to tell you specifically how or what formula to use. You need to make sure you look at the information, decide, okay, I have this, I'm going to use this. So first thing is you're going to do the Pythagorean theorem, right? That was a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And that's used when you have two sides. So you're given two sides to find the third side. Okay, but if they don't give you two sides, right? If they don't give you two sides, but they give you a special triangle, then you need to say, okay, well, you're given one side, and you notice that your angles, all three angles, are either going to be a 45, 45, 90, or it's going to be a 30, 60, 90. All right, we're not going to go over the formulas for this review. I want you guys to go ahead and look at the previous lessons. All right, it's under special triangles. I believe it's a couple weeks ago. And then so Pythagorean theorem, you're given two sides, right? The special triangle situation is you're given one side, but you're given either 45, 45, 90 or 30, 60, 90. And the last is trig. And just for you to remember, TOA was the acronym that we use. And that's given when we have one side, right? And no angles are special, meaning you don't have any of the angles up above. I mean, you can technically use the special angles to solve trig with, but it's usually used when you've exhausted the option of, well, the Pythagorean theorem didn't work, special triangles didn't work. Well, let's try the third scenario. All right. Now, today's lesson is how do you solve for missing sides and angles if the triangle isn't right? So our review was based on only right triangles. If you're going to create another section on non-right triangles, this is where you should do it. So there's actually a few ways, but we're only going to learn one law for this test, okay, which is law of sines. So law of sines is, again, used when you don't have a right triangle, and the formula is pretty simple, right? And you're not going to use all three sections. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a bit. So you have sine of A, that's reference angle A, over the side that's across from it, side A. Then you have sine of B, and then that's going to be across or over the side across from it, which is B. And then you have sine of C, and then that's going to be over the side that's across from it. What I mean is, if you're going to take the sine of A, you're going to put it over the side that's opposite of it. If you're going to take the sine of B, you're going to go ahead and put it over the side across from it. And last is sine of C, you're going to put the side across from it. You're not going to use all three. You're going to use two of the three to set it equal to each other. Right? And I'll show you what I mean with problem number one. Now, problem number one, there is no right triangle at all. There's no right triangle at all. So that tells me that I'm going to need to use law of sines to find whatever information I need. Now, before we do any setup, we need to look at what the variable is telling us. That variable is a side. So that means it's going to go on one of the denominators of A, B, or C, right? It's not going to be next to the trig function of sine. So we're going to set it up, and it's pretty simple. So I know the side that the side that's across from the 71 degrees is x. So we're going to go sine of 71 across from x, so I'm going to put x is equal to, well, we need to set it equal to another side and the angle that's across from it. Well, I do know that my other angle is 35 degrees, right? And it's across from 12. So I'm going to go sine of 35 and divide it by 12. And that's our setup. And what we learned in the similar triangles unit is that if you have two fractions that equal to each other, which is the proportion, you're going to go ahead and cross multiply these two. So you're going to cross multiply these two. So that's going to get me x sine 35 is equal to, and then I'm going to cross multiply these two. So that'll be 12 sine 71. And our goal is to go ahead and get x completely by itself. Now, in order to get x completely by itself, we want to get rid of sine 35. You're not going to divide the 35 and then divide the sine. The sine 35 can be removed to the other side in one swoop. So, let me just go ahead and demonstrate using a different color. So, all in one swoop has meant that, well, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by sine 35, sine 35, and these are going to cross out. So let me move this over here so I get more real estate so you guys can see what happens when I cross this out. So x is equal to 12 sine 71 over sine 35. Now, we need to go ahead and use our scientific calculator. I'm going to pull that up. But before we do that, I want you guys to make sure that when you guys are putting into the calculator, the very top needs to be in parentheses, okay? Because you want the 12 and the sine to be attached to each other. And the same thing, if you want, you can put these in parentheses as well. So, I'm going to pause the video and load up the scientific calculator. Alright, so I got my scientific calculator all loaded. So let's go and put this in. So like I said, use parentheses, you got 12. And then you're going to go sine, and then 71. That's going to be our numerator. So it looks a little clean. Notice I put double parentheses because there's one set of parentheses around the 71 and one encompassing around the whole entire numerator. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide it by, and then I have sine 35. And I'll close that. So now it looks a lot cleaner. Notice, I said earlier, you go ahead and put a set of parentheses around here. But if there's no number in front of that sign, just go ahead and just put sine 35. You should be fine. Okay? So it's a lot of calculator practice with this. So now I'm going to go ahead and press enter. So I got around one decimal place, 19.8. So I'm going to go back over here. So my side length is going to be x is equal to 19.8. Alright, 19.8. Alright, let's do number one. Another one, I should say. Let's go to number 4. So number 4, I'm trying to find x. I'm trying to find x. But in order to set up the actual law of sine, we need to make sure there's an angle that's across from it. This is what I mean. But there's no angle right over here. And they give us an x information of 53. We're going to use that to our advantage. We need to use triangle sum theorem to find this angle right up here. So we need to first go 180 minus 96 minus 53. And when you do that, you should get 31. So the 53 was vital in terms of finding the missing angle. But we don't need it anymore to set up law of sine. So sine of 31, since that's across from the x, it'll be sine 31x. And then this angle is across from 27, so it'll be sine 96 over 27. Do a little cross multiplying. So when I do that, I have x sine 96 is equal to 27 sine 31. And then I want to get x alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by sine 96, divide by sine 96. So that crosses off. Alright, and then so now we're going to put that into our calculator. So now we have loaded. Let's clear this up. So that's going to go ahead and be 27 sine 31. Right? You can do this. Here's another way. Calculate the numerator first, then press enter. So that's our number. And then you're going to divide it by sine 96. If you do that correctly, you should get around 13.98. So since we're rounding one decimal place up, it's going to shoot all the way up to the next whole number. So our answer is going to be x is approximately around 14. Okay. On the quizzes and tests, I usually give you guys a little bit of one number greater, one number less. So if you're trying to figure out what to round, do your best, and there is a little margin of error for you guys. All right. Now, I did 2 examples solving for side lengths. Now we got to go ahead and use the law of sine to solve for angles, and it's pretty simple. Same exact process. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and use law of sine to solve for missing angles. Same process, but this time let's identify what our x is gonna go ahead and be. So our x over here is our angle, and that is across from 9. So we're gonna set it up a little bit differently. So I'm gonna have sine of x is gonna be across from 9, and then we need another angle and side. So that's gonna be 77. And we're given that it's across from 14, so that's going to be sine of 77 over 14. And then we're going to do the same thing, cross multiply. So when we cross multiply this, that's going to be 14 sine of x is equal to 9 sine of 77. Our goal is to get x alone, so a little bit different in terms of the algebra steps. We need to get rid of the number that's in front of the sine function in order to get rid of the x after. So we're going to go ahead, divide by 14. So that's going to leave me sine of x is equal to 9 sine 77 over 14. And then our last goal is to get rid of that sine function. Well, it's not like it's a number. It's an actual function that you got to do, and you need to get rid of it. And we're going to move it to the other side, and to that will become x. And remember, it becomes inverse sine. So it'll be 9 sine 77 over 14. And my suggestion is this, right? This is a lot to put into your calculator. I would go ahead and put this into your calculator first. So 9 sine 77 over 14. So let's take care of that first. So let's clear it. So I have 9 sine 77. I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to divide it by 14. Then I'm going to press enter. And I get this long set of decimals. Make your life easier. Go 4 decimal places, right? Because this is not our final answer, but we're going to try to get as close as we can. So if I go 4 decimal places, that's 6, 2, 6, 4, because I'm rounding the last digit. So 62, 64. So go back to over here. So that's going to be x is equal to sine 0.62, 64. And now this makes it a little bit more manageable to put into the calculator. So when you do this, so inverse sine, so let's clear this. So inverse sine, because remember we moved it to the other side, and it'll be point, don't forget the decimal, 62, 64. And then you're going to go ahead and press enter, and then you should get an answer around 38.8 degrees. If you're a little bit off, that's fine. So just make sure you know how to get the gist of it. So this is going to be x is equal to 38.8 degrees. All right, let's do one more. All right, let's do one more. All right, guys, last problem. We're going to do number 13 circled in blue. We're going to go ahead and figure out what we have. And from there, we're going to go ahead and set up the problem. So for number 13, I'm solving for x that happens to be across from the 37. So that's sine of x is over 37. And then the 94, it's across from the 43. So that's going to be sine of 94 over 43. So if you have that set up down, it's looking good so far. So again, cross multiply. So that's going to be 37 sine 94. And I'm purposely moving the x to the other side. So you guys know it's the same exact process. Sine of x. And then the goal is to get x completely by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 43. Those cross off. And then The last thing is that I need to get rid of the sign. So the sign is going to move to the other side. So I should have inverse sine, and I'll be 37 sine 94 over 43 is equal to x. And remember what I told you is that you want to make sure when you do this, right, that you want to take care of what's inside of the parentheses first. So let's take care of what's inside of the parentheses first. That's going to be 37 sine 94 over 43. Let's clear that up. So I have 37 sine 94. I'm going to press enter and then divide it by my denominator. So I have around 0.8584. I'm sorry, 0.8584. So moving over here, so inverse sine 0.8584 is equal to x. And when you put that into your calculator, right? I know I'm moving everywhere. Beauty of having a Surface Pro and pen is I'm going to just move everywhere. Of course, you guys are going to do it a lot neater than I am. So that's inverse sine 0.8584. So clear that up. Inverse sine 0.8584. And I'm going to press enter. And if you do that correctly, you should get around 59.1 degrees. Alright? So 59.1 degrees is my final answer. Alright guys, I hope this helps. Again, this is the last lesson of the week. You do have a review on Thursday, a quiz on Friday, and then starting from Monday through Wednesday, you have a review assignment. Thursday is a free period next week, meaning you can study, gather your notes, and then you have your big unit exam, your first distant learning unit exam coming up. Alright, take care guys.